Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Today, we're going to look at should you buy Gwenpool and open for Hydra Bob. That is the new cards coming with the new season. We're going to review every single Spotlight cache. We also have our first set of giveaway winners right after our first deck, a deck we have to cover because it's climbed hundreds of ranks. This is an absolute Arishem killer that is fantastic into the meta besides. So hopefully you're excited for that. But before we get to that first deck, please hit that sub, hit that like, hit that comment. We give you 7 days a week of new videos here on the channel, at least 3 brand new decks every single weekday. We've got like 20 new decks for you today to try out in Marvel Snap. So if you want to be on the cutting edge of the most decks with the most content, please make sure you hit that sub button. It really does help us out. Watch as long as you can, like, comment, help us grow, and we'll continue to bring you the best content and the biggest giveaways in all of Marvel Snap. The first deck we're going to talk about is from our friend Dubos. This is Dubos' Mr. Negative list. A lot of top players are playing Mr. Negative right now, to the point where we're seeing more Mobius at the top of the Infinite leaderboard as a way to counter that negative and counter all the Loki, because those are the two decks that have been being used to counter all the Arishem that's all over the meta. This deck, however, is extremely powerful either way. The Angela Thena package is just very, very strong and a great way to get a lot of power out. If you can get power out that way, you can, even without any of the shenanigans, end up going Iron Man on 5 and then Sage and Mystique on turn 6. Or if you have Ravonna out, you can go Sage and Taskmaster on turn 6. And either one of those are absolutely game-winning plays. This deck has a lot of ways to win. You can find our friend Dubos at twitch.tv/Dubos. This deck is super high ranked. Dubos is a phenomenal player and wildly entertaining streamer. Just amazing energy and joy on that stream. Go check it out, please. Alright, this deck needs Darkhawk, Hope, Ravonna, and Kitty. You can potentially cut Darkhawk if for some reason you are in the one pocket of the meta that Arishem is not all over, then Darkhawk is not especially important. However, Darkhawk is everywhere, Arishem is everywhere, so Darkhawk is even more played and is often an auto win in that matchup. For that reason, Darkhawk is in the list. Most lists, if you can afford one extra spot right now, are just sort of throwing Darkhawk in as a way to just say, well, I'll just take a free lane win. Thena can be Angela for this list. You'll lose a bit, but not too much. At the end of the day, in the climb from like 32 to 15, yeah, we're talking the very highest of the Infinite leaderboard. From 32 to 15, Angela replaced Shang-Chi. Thena stayed in the list, but Angela replaced Shang-Chi. I personally, as I was playing, was really liking Shang, so I left it in the deck. So this is rank 15. It's 141 and 99. Yeah, that's a lot of freaking games. Dubos kind of went nuts climbing. 59% win rate with a 1.0-ish cube rate, which is just silly. Like, this deck is absolutely killing it, crushing it. You should totally play it if you have access to these cards. This will kill Arishem, almost always. So turn 1, you want Kitty. Turn 2, Ravonna over Thena. Turn 3, Hope is your priority as a general rule. Obviously, if you can negative on 3, you negative on 3. But outside of that, it's Hope over Ravonna over Thena. Turn 4, negative if you didn't do it on turn 3. If you did end up hoping and don't have negative, you're just trying to drop, like, hopefully you got a Ravonna out. Now you can drop an Iron Man on that Hope. You're trying to figure out what you can drop on that card. That's why Kitty ended up replacing Shang eventually as an extra thing to play on that Hope. But like, you're just looking for some earlier plays to sort of drop on that Hope to get extra energy. Turn 5, you have Jane to grab negative, to grab 0 cost cards, or you can drop some more cards on Hope. And if you can drop enough cards on Hope, even without Ravonna, you can go Darkhawk and Mystique on the last turn against a against a Arishem list, or you can go Iron Man, Mystique, or you can go so you can go Darkhawk and Iron Man and Mystique, or Sage and Darkhawk and Taskmaster, and either of those should be absolutely winning plays, assuming that you've thrown priority appropriately throughout the game, and Mr. Negative, interestingly, really does help you do that. This is, again, a very powerful list, one of the best lists in Marvel Snap, currently ranked number 15 on the Infinite leaderboard from our friend Dubos. Please check it out, assuming you have access to these cards. You will not regret it. This is one of the best things you can be doing right now in the world of all things Arishem. All right, if you'd like to see gameplay for this deck, today is Sunday, so at about noon Eastern, the King of Canada will be streaming. Check out King of Canada JJ on Twitch. Tomorrow morning, he'll have a YouTube video up with this deck. There should be a YouTube video up right around now from our friend FaThorNewman playing the various decks of earlier in this week. And each day of this week, there will be a video released with a bunch of gameplay from these decks. So please do check that out. I think you'll be really entertained by watching the stream team getting some great gameplay from these decks. I'd also like to announce, joining the stream team is the great Parry Manilow. Parry Manilow is taking over the Thursday spots. Hey, Season Pass giveaway. I know we did 5 last week, we're doing 5 next week. What about this video? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Our week 1 winners are Danny Cotton, Spin Cut, Sigfale, Jason J with a bunch of random stuff, and Timmy Toes. Those are our 5 winners. Please reach out at snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. Snap Judgments Podcast, one word, and no E after the G in Judgments. snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter, SnapJudgeCast, or on I forgot the name of the stupid app, Discord, at Pulse Glazer. Just message Pulse Glazer. Any of those, you reach out, I'm going to ask you to prove who you are, and then I'm going to ask for your Snap ID, and we can get you set up with that season pass as soon as the season turns over on Tuesday. It might be a little later on Tuesday. I've got like a life and stuff, right? But it'll happen on Tuesday. Now, should you not reply by Tuesday, this is a bonus entry. There is a bonus season pass win on this video. If none of you reply by Tuesday, okay, well, then we're going to pull multiple winners from this video. So do you prefer this video, the new season video with all the new cards and the breakdown of what decks they go in, on like a Sunday or Monday, or a Tuesday? Do you want it on the day the cards release, or do you want it earlier? What do you prefer? That is how you get a bonus entry to win should one of these players not reply to me by Tuesday. I'll announce that on Wednesday in the video. Also, week 2 kicks off in tomorrow's video, where I'm going to have something for you to comment at some point during the video, and that will enter you to win a season pass. There will be 5 more given away next week with the same exact structure as this week, where at the end of the week I will pull one winner from each day's video's comments. The Twitter giveaway is live now. You can check us out on Twitter at SnapJudgeCast, and you can enter there as well. It's the pin tweet. All right, Gwenpool is the new season pass card. She is strange. She is a 4/6. On reveal, pick a random card in your hand 3 times. Give +2 power each time. So she can. She is an interesting card. She's a powerful card, right? Or at least theoretically, a powerful card. We'll talk more about what she does and what we think of her in a couple slides. But first, this is the variant you get for buying the season pass. It's got an orange kitty on it, so I must have it. I like it significantly better than the little Vespa one. I really want this variant. I get the season pass anyway. I'm a content creator. I have no real choice. But hey, that's where we are. All right, Gwenpool synergy. So she hits cards at random. That's the first thing you need to know. If your hand is 6 cards, she's going to pick 3 random cards, but she could pick the same one more than once. If you have only 2 cards in your hand, she could go hit 1 twice and 1 once, or she can hit 1 all 3 times. Like, there's no way to know exactly how that's going to happen. She's sort of like a bigger and probably better Nakia, but she only leaves you 2 turns to take advantage of her buff, unlike Nakia, who hits the whole hand and gives you all 3. There are a bunch of cards that benefit from strength buffs that do more good with it than otherwise. Some examples are Mysterio, Brood, Sebastian Shaw, and Black Panther. We can also throw Dakin in there. We can throw Nimrod in there. There's a whole host of them. You're going to want to keep your hand small if you're trying to hit key cards, which gives Makari some extra value in these decks. Makari is actually pretty good with this card. I think for myself personally, I'm going to put Makari in most of these lists if I can figure out how to. Absorbman and Grandmaster, if you want to go nutty with a card like Mysterio, seem nice, where you can go, I know she's a 4, right? But you can go Gwenpool on 4, right? And then you can Absorbman or Grandmaster that, and then you could end up with a stupidly big Mysterio to play with like a Hitmonkey at the end of the game. I don't think that's going to work, sure, but it's possible. Fasto seems really good with this because you might get some of those cards cheaper. It might help you curve out, etc. And there's possibility that Arishem wants this. Playing this on turn 3 is better than playing it on turn 4 by an awful lot. We're going to feature 10 different decks. Are you ready? We're going to start, as always, with Dokti, the current king of new card content in Marvel Snap, who was on the podcast. If you want to hear Docty and I and our friend Johnny B. Good, and of course Roy, rank every Datamine card in Marvel Snap, including those from this month, check out the podcast that released. It's right here on this channel. It was Saturday's video. Yesterday's video. So Docty has first a power-up Surfer. We're going to look at a couple Surfers, but I think this one's pretty good. This one says, I'm just going to run a bunch of buffs in Surfer. I've got a Koye, and if a Koye hits a Brood or a Shaw or even a Gladiator, we're pretty damn happy. I can also just do Forge, Brood, Absorbing Man. If I whiff on my Brood or Shaw early, or if I've got like a Forge Brood turn 5 play, and because I don't have Absorb Man, I could always go something like Magic into Gwenpool or Phastos into Gwenpool, and then I can spend turn 5 going Forge Brood and just have a stupidly big lane winning Brood that I can then go, if I did Magic, then go Absorb Man Surfer, Surfer Absorb Man in whatever order I so choose, or just drop a stupidly big Shaw. I don't know, this one seems reasonably cool. Iceman's not really necessary here. If you don't have Phastos, feel free to go Killmonger and Nova in that spot. That works perfectly fine as well. All right, Res Snapper has Pink Death. Res Snapper is another phenomenal Marvel Snap new card content creator. Res Snapper was gifted Snapper Pass by the great Drewberry. Res Snapper has a Pink Death deck. This one is kind of hilarious because you're basically trying to do one of two things, right? If you can pull it off, like if you have Galactus in hand and you go Wong into Gwenpool and you just hit Galactus a bunch, right? You just get a game win. You just drop a Galactus and game win. You can also Gwenpool on 4 with Nimrod and Galactus in hand. If it hits Nimrod a couple times, you're perfectly happy. And then you can go Nimrod into Galactus, or you can just go, you can try and Galactus another way. And then you've just got a bunch of cards that, like, sort of, Phastos is really good. It can pump up the Nimrod or Galactus. It can make one cheaper. Either way, it's fine. And then you've got some cards that make the opponent want to, play in their lanes in Nebula and White Widow, and the rest of the stuff, Spider-Ham's a little control, Nova's a little bit extra power, and basically what you're saying is I have extra ways to go, to drop that, Nimrod if I have to, right? Like I can just Gwenpool, Nimrod, Carnage, Venom, and win that way too. Very cool deck. I think I'd probably want Shuri in this, just in case, but maybe over Phastos? I'm not sure if Phastos actually seems good here. Probably over Spider-Ham, if we're being completely honest. But either way, this deck seems very cool, and Galactus is in spotlights this week, so if you don't have Galactus and you're like dying to try this list, that's one way you can do so. Next up, we have One Drop Mayhem. Most of our decks are going to come from Safety Blade. Safety Blade seems to have gone a little bit wild with Gwenpool. I'm going to be honest, well, we'll talk about it after, but I'm not completely in love with this card. But Safety has a whole bunch of ideas. Here's One Drop Mayhem. This is a bounce list that says if I go Gwenpool into Black Swan, I don't even have to play my ones early outside of Rocket, right? If I go Gwenpool into Black Swan, I can just play a million cards. If I don't have Black Swan, but I do have Mysterio and Hitmonkey, that Gwenpool is still likewise great into whatever the hell I end up doing. I can still bounce. I can Beast and Falcon on turn 5 and get a bunch of extra power that way. This seems cool. I don't think I'm going to be honest. I don't think this is going to work. Largely because the Arishem meta has a bunch of blobby shit that just gets too big for this kind of deck. But it's got look, I'm going to test it. It's a bounce deck, and I love bounce decks. So here's hoping this works. This one also throws Hydra Bob in, the other card releasing this week. All right. Also, Magic is just bad and people play Arishem. I don't know what the hell Safety was naming these decks. You're going to see a bunch of strange names here. Safety, for anyone who's unaware why we're featuring Safety decks, A, he's another Marvel Snap writer, like myself. But in addition, Safety has broken the meta several times. The Arishem deck that became meta, the version that's best right now, is created by Safety. He also created the Professor X Cannonball Ravonna deck well before anyone else. So he is a fantastic genius deck builder, and he went nuts with this card, so that gives me hope that maybe it has some chance. And like, here's another way you can play it. Even though Magic is just bad, I think this deck probably wants Magic. But like, this is just saying I can go Wong, Panther, Zola. That should be totally fine. Darkhawk is here for that one matchup. And Gwenpool is here because if you don't see Wong, right, and you've got a smaller hand and you drop Gwenpool and you hit Panther a couple times, all of a sudden you're in heaven. If you hit Iron Man a couple times, you're perfectly happy, right? There is some counter synergy with Ravonna, but nothing too bad. You're not playing Gwen. Like, I don't know if Gwenpool's even right here, but it is something. It's something you can try. Here's another version of the same concept. This one ignores some of the high rolly stuff and instead plays a little more consistently. This one runs magic, so you have the extra turn. It's still got the exact same basic other play patterns, though. All right, speaking of Sarah, try this. This is a lovely, lovely Patriot Surfer list, which those lists have in the card those lists have in common is Brood. You want to go Forge, Brood, Absorbing Man, but you can also go Gwenpool and then do the same thing that we were talking about earlier with Brood. Sarah lets you on turn 5 get all the extra things you need, so you can go Forge, Brood, Surfer. You can go Patriot, Brood, Surfer, etc., and still win the game. With Phastos giving you some extra high roll. This one actually has potential. I could see this being pretty good. Ankh, another person who does really great new card content. You can check him out on YouTube. Ankh has Gilgamesh. This is basically saying, well, if I'm buffing a bunch of cards, then that's good with Gilgamesh. Nice and simple, right? So your goal here is to hit, ideally, Sinister and Brood. If you hit Sinister and Brood, you get plenty of buff for Gilgamesh. That's nice and simple, right? It basically says, maybe I don't have to play Blue Marvel anymore. You don't have to play Blue Marvel and this works? Awesome. Then all of a sudden we've got a new archetype. I don't have a lot of hope for this one, but again, Gwenpool is a strange card because she's only giving you 2 turns to play these cards, and sometimes she's just going to hit like an M'Baku who you don't really want to play, for example. Right? So like there's some ups and downs here, but this should be pretty cool. It's at very least interesting and goes well with Phastos, who I know a lot of people got and have been disappointed in outside of Arishem shells. Obelisk has another Surfer list. This one's running Magic and Odin. It's got Zabu, so you can try and do the early Wong thing. Zabu's almost certainly better here as Psylocke. Should almost certainly be replaced with Psylocke, but you can do the Zabu Grandmaster thing. I think you can do Psylocke Grandmaster too. I don't know. Either which way, this should be a very cool list. Basically, it has the same exact idea of, so you get Wong Girl, you Gwenpool on 3, and then your whole hand is just completely silly. You can also end with an Odin. You could even Odin on 6 if you manage to get enough things going. If you had a really good hand, Odin that Gwenpool on 6, and get another +6 in your hand, and then you're just dropping stupidly big Broods and winning that way. All right, I threw this Arishem list together. I think this is reasonably cool if it comes together. Is it going to come together? Who the hell knows? So you've got Gwenpool here to do the Black Panther thing because it's going to be just solid on Mockingbird, etc., and then like, I don't know, I feel like if you can go Panther on 4, Zola on 5, Null is going to be silly on 6, or you can go if you can go Wave into Blob, you can Zola Blob, and then you can drop Null, etc. So there's lots of ways to do it. You have lots of ways to get big power. Gwenpool hitting Black Panther even once makes it work with Scar. So that's basically the gist here. Does this work? We'll see. But like, it's at least interesting, right? Like, it's a different Arishem list. Does Gwenpool belong here? That remains to be seen. One more that I threw together. I thought the Snap variants Moongirl Surfer could really try Gwenpool instead of Moongirl. Where if you get Makari and then on turn 4, like you've played a couple cards, hitting Mysterio, Brood, and Shaw seems really, really good. And then if I've got a cheap Mockingbird, right, like so much the better. If it hits Mockingbird, awesome. But like Mysterio can help that Mockingbird hit. I don't want Absorb Man here because I don't really have space. So Absorb Man never went in this list. I had a lot of success with this Surfer. I don't know if it still honestly works given the change in the meta where tech cards are more important. But if it does, this can be a very powerful way to affect the game. Quinjet might be right here. It might also be wrong here. If not Quinjet, try Forge. All right, so does Gwenpool look worth it? She's a 4/12, but she's going to require extra energy to get value out of, right? Like, you don't play her like and just get stats like Color or Crossbones. You play her, so like she's not vulnerable to Shang, but you still have to spend extra energy to get those stats out. And it's a free card because, like, you spend $10, you get way, way, way more than $10 in value in terms of Marvel Snap economy stuff, and then you just get the card. So, like, there is that. This gives me the feeling of either being OP or firmly mid. I'm leaning very heavily toward this being a middling card that we're not going to see a lot of. But they keep pushing this buff deck. Since they released Shaw, they've released like 5 or 6 cards that are just saying like, what if we buff our hand a lot? What if we buff our hand a lot? Is that a deck? It'll eventually get there, right? Like, even if it's not there now, eventually cards like Scarlet Spider make that deck significantly better, and we'll get there as far as enough cards that both buff and want to be buffed, so that this will be good. The Season Pass card is always worth it since last August, except for Black Swan. Black Swan and Dakan were the last 2 Season Pass cards that ended up not worth it, like just not fitting in any real decks. And like when Gilgamesh was bad, we saw what they did with Gilgamesh. They made Gilgamesh, a meta card, like right off the bat. They nerfed the meta and made Gilgamesh good. So like, it's entirely possible that they do the same thing to Gwenpool. Like, I don't think they'll let this card be bad in their big month where they're pushing a tie-in with a Marvel movie. Plus, you get 1,500 extra gold and 4 extra variants and 1 less Series 5 to get later. I think you should 100% buy Gwenpool. Cool. I think basically the Season Pass, if you are a person who can afford it in any way, shape, or form, is a 100% buy. You should definitely buy this. All good? Great. We're going to look at the rest of the month, but it's worth noting that as we break down the cards that you can open for, the OTA is happening this Thursday, and it could change anything. Everything we're saying could change by Thursday. We don't know. They could literally just target these decks, right? Is that likely? Of course not, but it is possible. We're going to look at all the spotlights for the month and talk about each one. Then we're going to deep dive in on this week. It's worth noting that if you don't want to just take my word, I have an article on Marvel Snap Zone. The form is out for it, where 50 different creators, over 50 different creators basically every month, including top ladder players and major famous players, rank every card coming this month, and I do an article explaining what their rankings were and why. So you can look forward to that on Marvel Snap Zone. All right, Hydra Bob is a 7/4, Series 5, 6,000 tokens after each turn. This moves if a player snapped. It is the first card that affects the snap mechanic, and it is one of the better statted ones in the game. One of the better base statted ones. The other two 1-drops that have better base stats have a very, very strong negative ability. This has an ability that's largely positive. And it comes with both Galactus and Nebula. We'll analyze this at the end, but I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this is, in my opinion, the weakest Spotlight week. I do not think, unless Gwenpool makes that Galactus deck amazing, Galactus has ever been this bad, and Nebula is a very good card, but also Series 4 card you shouldn't be opening for it. There's more to say about this, but since we're going to do a whole section on all 3 of these cards, I'm just going to keep it going. Alright, Ajax is coming on 7/16 next week. This is my pick for card of the month. The more I think about it, the more likely it is to be good, although not the week it releases. It is a 5/5 with an ongoing +1 power for each card in play afflicted with negative power. That includes your cards, things you do with cards like Hazmat are obvious here, things you do with the High Evolutionary cards, things you do with US Agent or Man-Thing. All of those will pump Ajax. On the opposing side of the board, he can get plus 8, 12 plus 12, so that'd be a 5/17, plus he can get a buff from your side of the card. He can get seriously huge. He was a 4/4. I thought he was going to be broken at a 4/4. As a 5, I don't think he's going to be completely incredible, but I still think he's going to be my card of the month. And if you need Darkhawk, and in the Arishem meta, I don't expect anything to happen to the Arishem meta for a while, Darkhawk seems like a requirement, and this is one hell of a Darkhawk variant. This is also a great Beta Ray Bill variant. Beta Ray Bill is another great card that has a deck that absolutely needs him. So this is like a phenomenal week to open. If you're going to open only 1 week this month, this is exactly where I would be going. We've got a weird RoboCop Ajax too that I don't want at all, but yeah, outside of that, this week looks really, really good. We'll do a full review with decks and such for this week next week, and you'll tell me by commenting on this video what day you want that video. Then we have Copycat. Copycat is almost everyone in my limited experience thus far assumed best card of the season. She's a 3/5. When you draw this, deal the text in the bottom card of your opponent's deck. That card's going to stay at the bottom. That's really powerful. It's a card they would never draw, but I'm just going to assume. I think the more I think about it, because you don't have to play it, it's going to tell you. It's going to tell your opponent both what it hit and and that it was played, so that's less than ideal. However, in a mill deck, if mill can exist in an Arishem world, this is still really powerful. In an Arishem world, I think this might not be any good. I think this was set to be great when mill was really good, like a week and a half ago. I think Arishem might chase this out of the meta. If it is good, though, one of the things you can do is you can play Copycat, and then you can, and since it's just when you draw it, as long as you've played Korg or Rockslide, a card that shuffles their deck, then all of a sudden that is not their bottom card anymore, and they have a chance of drawing that now dead card. Alright, some the variants. I don't like this Copycat at all. This feels nothing like Copycat to me, but hey, whatever. Copycat comes with Thanos and Cull. Neither one of those is a meta card right now. I don't think either is very good. Thanos will probably be good again one day, so if you have an abundance of Spotlight caches and want Copycat, you could open for it. Cull is not worth owning right now, especially. He's an okay card, right? He's just not a requirement by any means. I do like this Thanos variant, so I'm probably just going to use some Spotlights this week because I also need a Cull variant in my life. And then we have Cassandra Nova, who is coming on 7/30 to Deadpool's Diner. She will not be in Spotlights. We don't know what she's being replaced in, but she is a free card you can get in Deadpool's Diner, and they seem to be aiming that Deadpool's Diner means that anyone who really plays enough for the 2-week period that Deadpool Diner is active will be able to get Cassandra Nova. She is a 3/1. On reveal, steal 1 power from each card in your opponent's deck. If you can play her on curve, she is your opponent draws 4 on turn 1, right on by turn 2. 4 on turn 1, 5 on turn 2, 6 on turn 3. That leaves 6 cards left in deck. She's a 3/7. That's not great stats, but if they start playing those cards that are weaker, that's really good. That can have extra impact on, again, things like Iron Man and Brood. So she's got some use. Her real use to me is that she's a tech card to anti-Arishem, much like Darkhawk is. So, like, Darkhawk gets super huge against Arishem. She doesn't get as big, but if you play her on 3, that Arishem player has drawn, again, 5 cards out of their 24. So she's a 3, like 20. Which seems like it's probably worth playing in a fair number of decks because she is stupidly cheap. And a lot of those decks also run Ravonna. As you saw from those negative decks, she totally goes in those negative decks. So there is some value to her here. She's not like a great card, I don't think, but she is a very powerful card, specifically in Arishem matchups. The 2 spotlights are Hope and Proxima. I'm going to assume that this is our second real easy skip week of the month, along with the Hydra Bob week. Hopefully you bought Hope Summers because you should always buy the Season Pass, and Proxima Midnight is a very fun card, but not remotely in the meta currently. Alright, let's talk some Hydra Bob. 1/4 after each turn, this moves if a player snaps. So this combines with Nightcrawler. This combines Nightcrawler and Martyr. So Nightcrawler was combined with Scarlet Witch previously, and that was amazing. Nightcrawler and Martyr with -1 strength does not seem good at all. This moves once after each snap, and that move is not in your control. It just happens, which might help you and might hurt you. In my opinion, that is very, very dangerous. This could be good with Craven and Miles. You can snap to get yourself a cheap Miles, guaranteeing yourself a cheap Miles. There is no guarantee it hits Craven, but hey, it could. And look, a 1/4 isn't something Zoo is sad about. What this really is, though, is a Deadpool's Diner card. Deadpool's Diner is a mode. We don't know exactly how this works, but we know you can snap multiple times in the mode, more than the normal once. And if you can snap multiple times and this starts moving around, this can make you a huge Craven, which is pretty damn cool. This could also be good in Cerebro form. Maybe we finally have a Cerebro 4 deck. We'll look at that in a bit. And while this has okay stats, given that it is a Series 5 card for 5,000 tokens, and we will probably not know if it's good in Deadpool's Diner, I'd probably just prefer to play Hawkeye for the same damn stats. Let's look at some decks. We don't have 10 of these. We only have like 5. So this is Docty's deck. We again start with the king of new Marvel Snap card content. Docty has a tempo lockdown list. This one is basically saying, I've just got this extra 4 power that can sneak into a storm lane that can help me win a Legion in a Legion game. 1/4 isn't anything to sneeze at, right? Whereas Martyr will try and lose you that game, or Titania might be on the opponent's side. If you do the Storm Legion thing, then Hydra Bob should be able to win you, help you win the game. Lizard is powerful. Like, all these cards are just powerful for that one exact interaction. Does that make this great? Who the hell knows? But this is at least an interesting way to play the card. It's really hard to win a lot of cubes with this kind of list, but hey, you can win with it. Next up, Res Snapper has a Cerebro 4. This is a really, really cool list. It's got Scarlet Witch because you need some kind of location control, and there is no 4-drop location control. If you play Havoc for 1 turn, that's a 2/4. Bob is a 2/4. Hawkeye has to be played earlier for a 2/4. Cloak, obviously, Ms. Marvel is a 2/4 that powers up your lanes. Sarah, Kyra protects your Bob and your Hawkeye. And then you've, of course, Storm, because you wanted to steal that lane. 1 Thena trigger. And you get the idea. This mostly wants to play things late after Sarah, but yeah. It's a powerful list. It's at least a very fun list, even if it's not the strongest thing we've ever seen. I don't know. Bob better hope Cerebro 4 is good, because I'm not sure what else there is to do. Safety has a lockdown list. Martyr often fit in this list as just a 1/5. This is a less risky card than Martyr. Enjoy. That's literally it. I don't like it in this list. I feel like it messing me up randomly in a debris or Titania situation is not worth the trouble. Then I have to snap to get out of that bad situation. No, thank you. But this is one place to use it. Another is Zoo. This is the easy and obvious way. You're perfectly happy to just have another big statted 1 in a Zoo list. As safety shows us. Here, look. You just throw Bob into Zoo, and you get a 4-power card. Again, I'm not 1000% sure why I'm not playing Hawkeye. I guess I can play it at the end of the game with Gilgamesh better. Sure. Alright, our friend Prashaun made a new card video. Prashaun doesn't usually do that. Hey, Prashaun. Congrats on making a new card video. Prashaun is a member of the stream team who will be streaming some of these decks on Tuesday. So Prashaun decided this is a very silly list. This is your warning. But this is he called this Ring Around the Rosie. Because Bob moves, and Martyr moves, and Captain Marvel moves, and like you're just moving a bunch of stuff everywhere. You got Hercules to bounce. I don't know, this list seems stupidly fun. Basically, if you can get things moving, you can use Polaris, Spider-Man, and Arrow, and Magneto to move things to the Kingpin. You get some extra power, and if you're moving things to the Hercules, you get extra power, and then you've got the Kraven. You get the idea. All right. So my honest thought is this seems terrible. This is, in my opinion, the worst card of the month, and probably the worst card they've released into Series 5 in quite some time. I hope I'm wrong. Deadpool's Diner isn't till the end of the month, so we won't know if this is secretly amazing there for quite a while. If Cerebro 4 isn't real, this isn't going to be great. And this is totally replaceable in every non-Cerebro forward list. So, to me, this makes Makari look like Arishem or Thena. This sounds bad. But this, as always, we're going to wait and see until Friday. Unless the other cards make something must buy. So let's look at what comes with this card. First, we have Galactus. Galactus is a 6/5. This is a big bad. It will never drop. On reveal, if you're winning this location, and this is your only card here, destroy all other locations. Galactus isn't great right now. Arishem's playing a lot of really big shit. It's really, really hard to get Galactus off right now. 5 is not a lot of power. There are numerous 2-drops and 3-drops that get you to not being able to Galactus. This is probably too weak to be meta currently. 3 Galactus decks. Our first is from King Venom. This is a Galactus junk list. This doesn't really run ramp. It's basically saying if I throw goblins in your lane, I can Galactus and win. Great. Enjoy. That's all this is. There's like literally nothing else fancy here. Yeah, outside of that, it can win through Annihilus, Goblins, Goliath bullshit. It's got some game to it. It's not a bad deck. It's just, not meta. This is another Galactus list. This is an Arishem Galactus that lets you Galactus on 5, which gives you a better chance of actually getting the damn card off. So there is that. Are you likely to get Galactus off? Nope. But Galactus into Goliath, Blob, or Darkhawk is potentially winning a game. Galactus into Shang-Chi can potentially win a game. So, is Galactus great here? No. But it is a thing you can do. It's like a perfectly reasonable use of the card. And then finally, this is from Den's tier list. This is a Galactus. This is that old Regis Kilbin list Regis Kilbin got on Reddit that we did a video on ages ago. This does not have a high win rate anymore. This had its moment in the sun. Once it was no longer a surprise deck, it doesn't really work, but this is still somehow the most successful Galactus list. So that should tell you enough of where Galactus is in the meta, yeah? Our other spotlight card is Nebula. She's a 1/1, Series 4, 3,000 tokens and form Season Pass. Each turn your opponent doesn't play a card here, plus 2 power. Nebula is an excellent card, kept in check largely because Kitty Pryde is still fairly common in the meta. The first deck we're going to look at is FaThorNewman's Red Vohulks. Nebula fits into a reasonable number with of high evolutionary decks. So if you really, oh wow, this is an old deck, huh? Because this is still a 4/4 high evolutionary, but if and a 6/9 Hulk. But if you like high evolutionary lists, this is one place you can go, and Nebula is a good card in that. Next up, we have McDonaldino's Lockdown deck. He climbed into the top 100 in this list from like rank 6,000. So this is a really, really, really strong list. If you're clogging, Nebula's great. She gets really big. Your opponent wants to play there. That lets you take advantage of cards like White Widow, Titanium Green Goblin, Debris to lock up a lane. Nebula grows big without any extra work, and you win the game. Nice and simple there, right? Stegron helps that clog too. Very cool list. Worth playing, worth messing around with. Also, that clog means Cannonball wins another lane, and then you win the game. This is Nebula's best list. And then we have a Zoo list. Is Nebula great in Zoo? No, but sometimes you get her out early, and she's a perfectly fine card. This is just, I don't think Nebula totally belongs here, but she's fine in that, like, she can pump herself a little bit, which helps for Gilgamesh, and she's at least a cute card, right? You're not sad to play Nebula here and force them to play cards. If they keep your Nebula small, but you get all your other cards out, you can win another lane with like your Mockingbird bullshit, and then you can Gilgamesh off. Nebula and get like a 17 power card and take it over out of nowhere. So should I open this week? No. Like not even a little bit. Please don't open this week. Nebula, at least as of now, right? Nebula is great, but a Series 4 card, a former season pass, and was sold for a $15 bundle in December. If you wanted her and you've been playing for any amount of time, you probably have her. Cool. I'm not sure Galactus has ever been worse in the meta. This is about as bad as he's ever been. No nerf has ever made him worse than this, at least in my opinion. And Bob is uninspiring. So, in Thursday's video, 4 days from now, I don't know, math is hard, I teach it. But 4 days from now, in Thursday's video, I will ask a bunch of top players. We're talking top of infinite leaderboard players, lots of great players, what they think of Hydra Bob once it's out in the wild. I'll also get them to answer what they think of Gwenpool. I will then present that in Thursday's video. Friday, I will synthesize that information and stats into a recommendation about whether to buy Bob. And then Monday, I will give you a last chance review. Tomorrow will be a last chance review for Arishem, but spoiler alert, last chance review for Arishem says buy the damn card. Please do not buy Hydra Bob until Friday unless you get every card. We will have more information then. Wait until Friday. That's when weekend missions happen, and we can make an informed decision. Cool? Thanks. Hey, if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments, where we have, exclusive videos. You get your name read out in videos. You get videos early. All sorts of good stuff if you're interested in checking out the Patreon. Our Patreon supporters that get their names read out are Abigail Gieslin, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, This Is the Way, all the way from Scotland, Graphite Enthusiast Inc., I Am Frostman, You Sure Are, Jane Everett, Doomer, Primed Ryan, check out Prime Mind, hope you did well at the World Series of Poker, Ryan, Kiertix Lee, Corey Ray, coming all the way from Japan, Kiertix Lee, the king of questions, I'm waiting for that last batch of questions, by the way, Pyro Froze, Pyro, The Goat Seeker, I wonder what rank you are, Goat Seeker, hit me up, Denman Falcon, check him out on YouTube. I will see Denman Falcon this Friday at Brookland, where we are holding a Marvel Snap tournament. Quid Pro Joe, thank you, Joe. King of new card content, who you saw earlier this video. Doc D, Fat Nick, Doku, Ginger Prime, hey Ginger, Philip Brakovich, Ratko, and Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, the OG, Rob Silverman, the Notorious Bizza, Exorcy and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Tommy Nyquist, Snap Judgment's League Season 1 League Champion, and sponsor of Season 3 of the League. The King of Bros, bruh, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood, our own Woody, KFC Hoda, Luna Chris, killing it with bounce, Archangel 3K, new friend alert, John Q, thank you so much, John. Let me know if that's the name you are happiest with. My former student, Louis Antunes, Mod Supreme Models, the one and only Darth Vader, Remus Atala, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., the great JD McDonaldino, we just saw one of his decks, the Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Woo, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Craig Sterry, Seamus, so far behind, haven't heard from Seamus in ages, very worried, Jonesy, Two Ties, New Patreon alert, my favorite person in the ZalSnap community, Lauren Whatevs. Hi, Lauren. The Pirate King Tuccrr, the Homie Min, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for the league kicks off. Don't forget to leave a comment. We'll see you tomorrow with another Snap Take. Hopefully a couple of you check out the Patreon too. Peace.